Hey, welcome everyone. We're once again joining together for the purpose of building community and energizing the space that we are living in, both personally and collectively, so that we can continue to unfold something with the most amount of love and the least amount of stress that we can. And that seems to be a formula that is testing each and every one of us in many, many ways right now. How do I perform to the best of my ability with the least amount of stress? And if we can work with that and focus with that, somehow the outcome will nurture you in the process of whatever needs to take place. But it also signals to those around you that you're in a place of needing just gentle guidance or gentle communication, a little less confrontation. I'm sure there's a song in that somewhere. So it's trusting that this whole process that we have currently been in the human journey, it really has been all about us facing things that we either are no longer willing to comply with, or we're no longer willing to put up with. And a lot of what ends up taking place is that there are new boundaries, there are new energies, there are new ways of dealing with things that we need to start considering using instead of the old ways. So tonight's topic is all about help, I'm triggered. And I don't know that there's anybody here that doesn't know what it feels like to be triggered. That's when you show up with the best of intentions and a heart that is open to being around people, to being near people, to interacting with them, communicating with them. We show up in the best possible way. And somewhere inevitably in that process of interacting, we can get triggered. And what I mean by triggering is that there are certain key words, and words have vibrations. Words have a frequency that I call a signature. And sometimes those words are words that you have recorded within your trauma energy field from the past. And that word can trigger that trauma to come back up into your reality. You will not be necessarily aware of it as far as remembering that it's attached to a trauma, but you will recall the feeling of it. And that feeling can trigger you in ways that your behavior changes. You will notice that the tone of your voice changes. The focus of what you are seeing and sensing and feeling changes in a dramatic way. So when we're faced with those moments, whether they're something that we're aware of or not aware of, we're still getting triggered, because it seems to me that the best way that we have as humans of finding what's buried within is to use these keywords and energies or frequencies to allow ourselves to be triggered, to bring it to the surface. So if it's sitting inside of you and it is stagnating, or it's affecting your function, it's affecting your perception, it's affecting your sense of joy and happiness, you really do want to allow the trigger to happen. As unpleasant as it is, as uncomfortable as it is, as messy as it can be, we need to start looking at them as a blessing. So in other words, you get triggered into a feeling, the feeling will bring up memories, the memories will bring up old fears, old judgments. Usually you'll find that they'll show up in the form of justifying your unloving behavior or your unloving actions. We really want to be able to justify. In other words, our story becomes the point of reference that we want to use to explain to everybody, I'm hurting, I'm unhappy, I've been through all kinds of trauma, I've been through all kinds of life experiences that are incredibly hurtful, I feel broken, I'm beyond damaged, I'm shattered. These are some of the things that soul self can bring forward in those moments when we are triggered. And sometimes, or usually if it is a deep trigger, it will come at the most unexpected time. Now, why would it be unexpected? Because if you actually expected it, you'd be doing everything you could to keep it from happening. So soul self likes to show up in the unexpected way in order to surprise you with something that is essential to your well-being, should you choose to face it, so that you can feel it and heal it. And there's no shortcut through that. I wish there was, and I do wish there was a magic wand that I could hand to you that just could make it all go away. But what it is designed to do is to teach us about empathy. It's to teach us about compassion. And it's also to teach us about forgiveness. All of those are required when we are co-creating with others in any life experience, whether it's family or friends or complete strangers. You know, God bless those angels that zoom through our world or our day and show up as a trigger. We don't even know their name, but we can see the trail of destruction as they walk out the other side of our moment. And it really is learning to honor those moments instead of try and avoid them. The more we try and avoid them right now, the more they are going to expand. In other words, you may think you're able to get past the moment because you've found ways of, or different techniques of distracting yourself. One of the greatest distractions we have is addictions. In other words, those moments come and it's like you head for the fridge, or you head for, the wine, or you head for recreational drugs, or you'll head for someone that can occupy your space and your time and entertain you to completely distract you from actually going into that experience and healing it. So when we talk about triggers come initially as a thought. Someone will say a word and we react with how and what we think about that word. It goes into your soul self. It's taken in to the very center core, and it becomes a resonator. Now, if anyone is not familiar with what resonating is, it's an energy and a frequency that has the ability to go in and disturb or disrupt everything instantly. So you can see how easily we can fall into those moments when our resonator, I call it, somebody rang my bell. And they may not have even known that that's what they did or that's what's happened, but within yourself, when somebody has rung your bell, you instantly have those sensations of, I need to close down, I need to put my wall up, I need to defend, I need to protect, I need to justify. And if you're really triggered, I need to get out of here. If you start sweating, if you start getting, shaky, if your tummy in your system is, rolling around saying, oh, I can't take another moment of this. What the challenge right now is for us to stop the habit, stop the normal reaction that we have been building for however long it has taken for you to hold on to that, and to face it, challenge it. And can we put our microphones off, please? Thank you. I will share with you a story that may help some of you understand sort of the significance of what that is. I used to have a reoccurring dream, and in that reoccurring dream, a bull was chasing me down a very narrow path, and it had to have been in Ireland because there were stone walls up on both sides and nobody was getting over the wall and the path was narrow. And each time that I would be in the dream, I'm running as fast as I can, and I keep looking over my shoulder, and there's this huge bull chasing me, and he's snorting and he's running and he's pounding, and I'm just trying to stay ahead of it. And the dream would continue to happen. I would wake up and I'd be dripping with sweat, and I'd be obviously stressed and anxious. So as I got into my adult years, I thought there's something about this dream because it keeps reoccurring. And immediately Source said to me, as soon as I said there has to be an answer, Source says, well, next time you have the dream, why don't you stop and ask the bull why it's chasing you? And I was like, I didn't know you could do that. You can stop a dream? Yes, you can. You're in charge of everything, including your dreams. So sure enough, within a month, I had the dream again. And as I started to, panic and the stress was coming up and I started all to sweat, I thought, no, this time I'm going to stop. And I did. I stopped in the dream and I turned around and I said, why are you chasing me? And the bull stopped and kind of turned his head sideways. He said, I'm not chasing you. I'm running with you. And the bull was called fear. So fear was motivating me to keep going. Fear was motivating me to challenge myself to face some things that showed up in my experience that looked like something I couldn't handle, I couldn't face, I couldn't deal with, I couldn't survive. And yet when I turned around and faced it, immediately it was compelled or ordered to be truthful with me. And that is what fear is for. Fear is there to chase you until you have the courage and the strength and the determination and stand in your power and say, what do you want? What is your message? What is your purpose? Why are you here? And I can promise you that when you do that, the information that you get is incredibly profound. Because when our conscious challenges our subconscious for the truth, it must be exposed, it must be shared. So that makes the game very different when you're running from all of these things that hurt, running from people that trigger you, running from people that have an innate gift to just rock your world by standing beside you and breathing. You ever had somebody that just by breathing, they can annoy the hell out of you? Where does that come from? Why is that there? That just seems to be, on a conscious level, that's pretty ridiculous. But on a subconscious level, it's terrifying in some moments. So it's paying attention to the thought that you have in that moment you're triggered. Stop what you're doing. Pause what you're doing. And just even write the word down, some way connect to that word. And the moment you connect to that word, it's going to bring the feeling up. The feeling that's attached and connected to that word is going to rise. Now, we've talked a little bit about feelings before, and feelings boil down to mad, sad, bad, or glad. And each of those has something to teach us and something to help us decode what's going on. Emotions are what we use to distract ourselves from our feelings. And they're very different. We're not going to go into that, but I can tell you that emotions are there to work as a distraction, an excuse, how we can validate and create reasons why things are happening. And if you want to follow the emotions, they will take you away from the moment. They're not going to help you solve the moment. So emotions are, let's call them irritations, frustrations, distractions. That's what emotions are. They take you away from the point of what the story is or what it is that you're currently having to face. So their role is to continue to challenge you or give you doorways out, give you excuses to leave the moment so that you cannot master what's taking place. The other thing that can challenge you is memories, because those thoughts, and when they're initiated, the first thing is the feeling comes up, then the emotions start swarming around like a bunch of bugs over a poop pile. Then you end up with memories coming back of other times it's happened, or other people who have done similar things, or other ways that the experience is interconnected or interwoven all around your life, and how it shows up in virtually every relationship, including the one you have with yourself. So memories are also something that need to be faced. You can't always remember things in detail, but you will remember how it felt. And again, it brings us back to feelings. Your memories will remind you how it felt. And you will continue to repeat that and recreate that until you heal that feeling. The other thing is that here's a bit of a clue that will tell you that you've got something chronically motivating you behind the scenes. And that is, if you are a list maker, if you have a list for everything, it determines that on the list is your level of safety and security. And when something happens, you'll be able to go over to your list and say, aha, it happened here with this person, it happened here with that person. And you have a list, and on the list are people. That's the list that you will end up having. There are people to avoid, people to try and stay away from, people to try and justify why you don't want to be around them. So if you have a list of people, that is your feeling and soul self saying you have a little bit of work to do, and each of those people hold a key to your healing. So it's not like you have to go and, make out 10 invitations to these people and invite them to dinner. No, that's not what it's for. It's identifying what each of those people have in common and what each of those people bring to your awareness, and what is the experience you have with that person that you find upsetting or irritating. Can be family members, can be a significant other. Who we have on our list is not a bad thing. It's just not a comfortable thing for someone to be on. We'll call it your naughty list. It's always a gift when you are able to face what that person holds as the key to your healing. And one of the ways to identify that is you take up the person, for example, and you say, well, what is it about that person that upsets me so much? Well, they tend to be chronically late. They never show up on time. And that messes with me because I'm always on time and my schedule's important. So, okay, the person is irritating you because they're chronically not on time. So you can take that experience and go, okay, it obviously rocks my world. It upsets me. It triggers me when they are chronically late. How do I do that? Bring it back to where you can observe it in a place where it matters. Bring it back to, what is my version of that? I may not be late when it comes to showing up for appointments or meeting with people or things that I commit to. I may not be late for that. But what if I'm late when it comes to meeting my own promises to myself, taking care of myself? What if I'm chronically late when it comes to, showing up when I need to move my body, or I need to prepare my food in a better way? What if I'm chronically late and have all kinds of excuses why I can't do it the way it should be done? Now you've got some clues and keys that is your version of it, that is going to help you find a key and a clue to why that person triggers you. And the interesting thing is, when you do finally get around to shifting your reality and you own it, now you actually have the responsibility of shifting and making changes. And when you do, it's really amazing how that person that used to irritate you doesn't irritate you anymore. It's funny how that works. You can't change them, but you can change what is within you that is upsetting or resonating in an unloving way. That is something that you can take care of. Now, that's just a very simple example. There's much more complicated examples, but I do challenge you to see who is on your naughty list. And it doesn't mean that you are mean-spirited or a person that just can't get along with people. That's not what it's about. It really is understanding that our soul has a preference of an energy field or an energy connection that we feel comfortable around, that we feel we are at our best around. And then there's one that we don't. Well, that's the one that is going to help you determine and discover things about yourself that you can heal. And it will always have something to do with an unloving way that we are being. And all that person did was ring our bell. That was their job. That was their purpose. That's their contract. Owning it ourselves is essential if you really want things to change. So moving it forward, once you realize that there's a list and there's some things to face, there's some things to address, there's some things to deal with, it's learning how to release. And it's something that we are not taught on at any point in time. You never see it in family discussions. You don't see it in school. You don't see it in most trainings. It has become more prominent and more comfortable most recently for people to learn the importance of releasing. But again, very few will tell you, well, how do I release? It's not a button that I can push. It's not a lever that I can shift in and out of gear. What does release mean? And release is when we actually get to the point where our resonator no longer resonates when the button gets pushed. So someone, once you've healed and they come along, it's the same person and they may say the same thing, and you no longer resonate with it, you know that you have actually released the trauma, you've released the memory, you've released the issue by addressing and owning the challenge that it represented. So releasing becomes extremely important, that we respect it and that we have the ability to own and take responsibility. When you're triggered, it's not about firing back at the person that delivered the trigger. It's honoring it's now your trigger, it's in your court, it's in your power and your ability to address it. And once you do, this sense of happiness, contentment, peace fills the space where that resonator used to be in a reactive state. And now you can be in an energy field or a level of frequency where you can respond to people lovingly, fairly, kindly, truthfully. You're no longer defending this little bit of brokenness that has been hiding inside of you. So right now, triggers are happening everywhere. They are testing us. I can tell you that as souls, we are being tested, especially those of us that are on the forefront of the movement, of the changes going on the planet. We are being tested every single day. And it's how we react or respond that determines our growth and our movement forward. Even the tiniest little step forward is more loving than staying in that triggered state. So we need to be able to identify, number one, when we're triggered. We need to be able to identify what the trigger is. And we also need to be able to identify what is it I need to face in order to release it. There's two things that are part of releasing. One is forgiveness, and the other is willingness. Because if you're not willing to forgive, I don't care how many times you say the word, spell the word, write the word, hang it on your wall, flash it out on a street sign. If you are not able to forgive yourself for playing the role and having the resonator in you, you can't move forward. And it's coming up big time right now. So if you're in a place of being triggered, you're in a relationship where it's chronic, call it a gift, call it a blessing, call it whatever you want, just don't avoid it. Face it, call it your bull, and when you stand in front of the bull and you address literally the bull in your life, amazing things start to happen. Your faith is stronger, your courage grows exponentially, your sense of confidence in yourself becomes endless. So it is worth the challenge. It is worth the time and the effort that it takes to just sit with it, be with it, challenge it. Because you hold the key to your own magnificence. You hold the key to your own ability to stand in your empowered state so that love can use you and pass through you and emanate from you in every possible way. But as long as you are still getting triggered by things, all it's telling you is you still have some clearing to do, you still have some releasing to do, and here's some of the ways that you'll be able to relate to, should you choose to, in order to facilitate clearing it completely. Karma is done, but we're still in trauma drama. That's what triggered is. Trauma drama, recall. So the only thing that's keeping you right now in that state where you are stressed, unhappy, or unhealthy is your unwillingness to face what keeps you there, what got you there, what holds you in that position where there is a there. And it is incredibly powerful when you understand how simple it can be once you start processing. Do one of the hardest ones that you have. You know, pick a relationship or pick a trigger that you consider to be one that just sends you over the edge, or you can't get past, or it troubles your soul, or it upsets your spirit. Pick one that is significant. And when you face that and you clear it and you release it, and that space within you that it occupied fills with love, there's no greater feeling than that. And then the little ones that we're all attached to it, because there tends to be a few basic triggers that everything else relates to in some way. When you deal with one of the stronger, the larger ones, the little ones, all of a sudden, they just kind of fall off. They have nothing to relate to or connect to anymore. And your story changes hugely overnight, because you're not dragging that story and that stress and the tension and all of the angst that goes with these things that trigger us. So yes, call it a gift. And when we start calling it a gift instead of a burden or an unpleasant thing or a hurtful thing, well, as soon as we stop calling it a thing, call it a gift and see what happens. And we are going to go through, and we're going to have some of you go ahead and share some of your triggers. And we're going to walk with each other through this process and see if we cannot help each other, inspire each other, and maybe trigger each other. God bless us. Apparently, I'm really good at it these days, so God bless me. But this is all part of how we can co-create and work together to help each other heal the hurt. That's what this part of the journey is about. Trauma drama has no purpose or any hold on us as an obligation or a condition where, you know, we can't move forward until we heal what we did in the past. Forget what you did in the past. Let it go. The only thing that you still have as a residual is how you feel about what happened. That's it. Feel it, heal it, move on. Replace it with some real serious manifestational love and self-confidence, self-power. So that is as much as I'm going to be sharing tonight. I really feel that it's essential as a group that we are able to co-create some special moments for as many of you as we can. So Sarita, if you would like to end the recording at this point.
What?